Before we go over the warm-up answers, let's talk about the quiz, which you're taking tomorrow. The quiz tomorrow is going to cover sections 8.1 and 8.2. There are 10 questions on the quiz. No calculator. They're all free response, meaning they're not multiple choice questions. It's on paper, so bring a pencil and an eraser. So no calculator, just bring a pencil. Keep in mind that the review that is posted with the answers does not exactly look like your quiz. So just remember, that's a good starting place to do those practice problems, as well as go back over your warm-ups, which are an excellent source of review material, as well as the notes and the homework. So a little bit more application problems than normal. As we've been going through the warm-ups, I've been telling you what to focus on. Today's warm-up, 8.2, is an excellent piece of information to use to review for the quiz tomorrow, as well as the 8.1 warm-up as well, and the quiz review, and the homework, and the notes. Pretty good? All right, so let's go over the 8.2 warm-up answers. Then after that, if there's any homework questions from last night's homework that was due today that you want to see worked out, I can work those out as well. And anyone who has looked at the review ahead of time, if you have any questions on that as well. Or any of the 8.1 homeworks that maybe you didn't get answered yesterday or the day before. All right, so let's, okay, and also no proof on the quiz. Okay, so you're going to get a question similar to this where it's going to say list all the pairs of congruent angles. So again, what you do is you're going to match B with M. So I'm going to put a marking here because this one doesn't have numbers. Tomorrow it will have numbers, and you'll also be able to give me a scale factor. Then you're going to go D and P. And then lastly, G and Q. So now what you're going to list is you're going to say angle B is congruent to angle M, angle D is congruent to angle P, angle G is congruent to angle Q. That would be listing all the congruent angle pairs. Then for the proportional sides, what you're going to do is you could say that PM here, or MP, which is the first two letters, is going to match with the first two letters here. So if you do MP, BD, and then you're going to say it's equal to the next two letters. So it would be PQ, congruent to D, or equal to DG. And then lastly, you would do the first and the last. First and the last, you could say MQ is proportional to BG. So that would be your statement of proportionality. Now, if I had numbers on it, let's say the numbers were 6, 7, and 8. So then again, you can see that BD here and MP, let's say it's 12, and then the PQ over here is going to match with the DG, let's say it's 14, and then the QM over here, QM is going to match with BG. So then what you would do is to get the similarity ratio or the scale factor, what you would do is take the right over left. So again, either match PQ, like this one, you could find MP. So MP is here, and it's matching with the BD, 12 over 6, 2 to 1. So you're going to have to write all the congruent angle pairs. You're going to have to give me the statement of proportionality, which is this, and then also give me the scale factor. So I know this one in the review didn't have numbers, but at least it'll help you practice writing the statement of proportionality as well as the congruent angle pairs. And do the warm-up first. So you are going to get questions just like this, where I'm going to ask you, determine if the two triangles are similar. If they are, then you're going to write a similarity statement. If they are not similar, you're just going to write the word no. And you'll leave the line that where it's asking for the similarity statement, you will leave that blank if they're not similar. So let me zoom in here. Now, luckily, for this quiz, we've only learned one shortcut. In order to show that two figures are similar, you would either need to show that all of the angle pairs are congruent and that all sides are proportional. But then, when we learned 8-2, we were given a shortcut, and that shortcut was angle. So if you can find two congruent angle pairs in your picture, then you could automatically say that they're similar. So for this picture, again, the two triangles I'm asked to compare are going to be this one at the top, this little blue one that's hidden inside the larger one, and then the red one, which I'm going to outline for the larger one. Now, we have two angle measures here. They're giving us that 55 for angle D, and then this angle up here, where the E is, if I were to pull it out, is also 55. Now, again, if it makes it easier for you to pull them out, A, E, B, this had 55, and then the red one, if I pull that one out as well, D. You don't have to do this if you can see it without doing it. It's perfectly fine. So I can automatically see that this is congruent to this. And then remember, by the reflexive property, we can say that angle A in the blue one is the same as angle A in the red one. So now we can show that we have two congruent angle pairs. So I could say, yes, these two triangles are similar, and I'm going to write my similarity statement. Now, tomorrow, when you write the similarity statement, if you can remember to try to write your first triangle in alphabetical order, and it doesn't matter which one you choose, it'll make it easier when I go to grade it. Technically, it doesn't have to be in alphabetical order, but if you could pick one of them, I'm going to do the blue one first, and I'm going to say that it's A, alphabetical order A, B, E, and then it's going to be similar to triangle, and I got to match the angles now. So you can see that angle A and angle A are the same. And then angle B, which is the next letter that I wrote right here, angle B didn't have anything, so it's going to match with the C that doesn't have anything. And then E, which is here, it has the 55, and it's going to match with the D. So then that would be my next letter. So obviously, this one, they both ended up being in alphabetical order, but it's not always like that. So if you forget, and let's say instead you told me it was AEB, similar to ADC, that's right as well. But if you can remember to at least start out by putting this one in ABC order and then match the next one with the appropriate letters, it'll save me a little bit of time with the grading. But if you forget, this is also an acceptable answer. Or let's say you said, I'm going to do BAE. And then if you did that, then it would have been CAD. So all these are different options. So this is why I'm asking you to do it alphabetical order. Otherwise, I'm going to probably end up with 6 different or more than that different combinations that I need to check through to make sure everything matches. So if you could at least start out by putting one of the triangles in alphabetical order, it'll save a little bit of time for me, and I can get the quizzes back to you faster. Now for this one, I don't have any kind of parallel lines. I do have a pair of vertical angles here that I could mark. Now I do need to find this missing angle measure in order to see if I have any other matches besides the vertical. So what I can do is, for this triangle up here, the MPN, I'm going to go ahead and add 55 plus 70. I get 125. Subtract that from 180. And then my missing angle here, the vertical one, is 55. And then same thing here. So now what I need to do is I only have one congruent angle pair. Let me double check that angle X isn't going to match. So then what I'm going to do the same thing on this one. I need to add 55 and 45. And I get 100. Subtract that from 180. And this missing angle X is 80 degrees. This didn't help me. I do not have two congruent angle pairs, so these two triangles are not similar. So in the quiz tomorrow, all you have to do is write the word no, and then where it's got the blank line, where I want you to write a similarity statement, you leave that blank. Don't put anything there. Number 3 on this warm-up is also a good problem to practice. Yes?
Sorry for repeating it again, but number one doesn't have parallel lines, but it does have the same angle.
Because they gave it to us.
So, like, if that was the case, then you would assume that it was parallel, but if it's not, then...
Correct, because you can use the converse of the corresponding angles theorem and show that the lines are parallel.
Okay.
Does that make sense? Now, it'll be helpful here if I go through and mark my congruent angles. So this is the way you can figure out what side matches with what. So I'm going to go ahead and mark in my congruent angles. I have a pair of vertical angles here. I've also got a pair of parallel lines. AB is parallel to ED. So this is where I can use my transversal, making angle A congruent to angle D. And then I could also have used the transversal this way. And I could have also said that angle E is congruent to angle B. Now, this is going to help me. And actually, let me switch some colors here. So when I refer to things, I could talk about blue or red. And then let me outline this one in purple. Okay, so now this makes it a little bit easier to tell what side matches with what for each triangle. So for example, the two triangles I'm referring to are going to be this green one here, and I'm going to compare it to this bottom one, which I'll outline in pink. So now, to figure out the corresponding proportional sides, what I can do is look at my congruency marks on the angles. So for side AC here, where the 5 is, notice it's going from the red angle congruency mark to the purple. So this tells me the 5 is going to match with the 8. It's matching with CD. And then if I go over here, notice the 12 here. It's going from the blue congruency to the purple. So I want to match it with the blue to the purple. And the 12 matches with the X. So now this is how I'm going to set up my proportion. I'm going to take the 2 that I highlighted in pink, the 5 over 8. And then the 2 that I highlighted in blue, it's going to end up being the X over 12. Now, if you preferred to have done 8 over 5, then you needed to do 12 over X. Either proportion is going to work, okay? However, if you messed up the order on any of these, then you're going to get the wrong answer. So I'm going to go ahead and do the cross products. 8 times X, and then 5 times 12. So 8 times X, 5 times 12, I get 60, divide by 8, and X equals 7.5. I would have also accepted it as a mixed number. And then the next one, number 4, my favorite, shadow questions. So again, you will get a shadow question. Notice on this one, all of the units are the same. The same thing's going to happen on the quiz tomorrow. You're not going to have to worry about any converting inches to feet or feet back to inches. All of the units will be the same. So we just have to figure out what proportional sides to match. So again, I'm going to give myself a visual. So I have a tree. That's casting a shadow. Let me do a shadow in gray. And then I also have a person who is standing right next to the tree or near it. And that person is casting a shadow as well. So for the tree, we don't know the height, but we know its shadow length is 30 feet. The person is 5 feet tall. And it's the person's shadow is 10 feet long. Now these shadow questions tie it into the similar triangles, because technically what I could do is form a triangle here using the height of the tree and the length of the shadow for 2 of the sides of my triangle. And same thing here. So what I can do is find a side length ratio. I could take the 10 over the 30, simplify it, and my scale factor here, or my side length ratio, is 1 to 3. Then I'm going to take the heights and match them. So I would do x over 5, and then this would be the proportion that I'm now going to solve. So I would multiply diagonally, and I did that backwards. It needs to be x over 5 over x. Sorry, this is the information. 5 over x, because again, the 1 came from the right. I'm always doing right over left. So when I do the cross products here, 5 times 3, and then 1 times x, I get x equals 15. So the height of the tree is 15 feet. Notice the question said to round, or how tall it is to the nearest foot. This one I didn't need to manipulate, but if you would have gotten an answer like 15.2, then if it says round or to approximate to the nearest foot, then it would have been 15. But my answer actually multiplied evenly. I didn't have to approximate anything. Yes. If you would have preferred to match the height of the tree with the length of its shadow, and then the height of the person with the length of their shadow, you can do this as well. If you wanted to simplify, you could reduce this to 1/2, and then you would get 2x equals 30, divide by 2, and x still equals 15. Or even if you didn't simplify it, you still get the same answer. You would have just gotten 150, and then divide by 10 is still 15. So there are multiple ways to set up these proportions for the shadows. Everybody good on the warm-up? Okay, anyone need to see any of the homework questions worked out from last night? All right, so I'm going to work out a few homework questions. I actually put all of them in here, so I'll just go through the video on each. So again, here are the answers to the homework questions. Number 1, you were supposed to fill in similar. Number 2, the similar statement was the second one, but it doesn't have the work. So I'm going to go. Number 3, these are not similar. Once you went ahead and did the math here, this was 50, this was 35. You couldn't find 2 congruent angle pairs. Over here, you could have shown the vertical angles, and then they would have been similar. Angle N is congruent to angle Z because they're both 45. and then MYN, that's the vertical angle, and it's congruent to the XYZ. So find number 8. Okay, so for number 5, let me zoom in here. So again, just like we just did on the warm-up, I need to find the missing angles of each triangle. So the two triangles I'm asked to compare here are going to be this one right here, and then the larger one. So what I can do to find the measure of this one right here, what's right next to angle Z here, I'm going to add 85 plus 45, and I get 130. I'm going to subtract that from 180, and this missing angle right here is 50 degrees.
Oh, I get it. So that's equivalent to W.
And then it's yes. So then angle YZX, which is this one, is 50, and so is angle W.
Oh, yeah, I get it now. Thank you.
You're welcome. And then angle Y was just congruent to itself. So again, you need to use that triangle sum on a lot of these questions to find the two congruent angle pairs. So add the two angles that are given. Once you get that sum, subtract it from 180. A few things here. This is the one that I just did. This was number 5. Number 7, you'll do this something similar here. Find the two similar triangles by finding the missing angles. All right, so for number 8, let me zoom in here. So what we need to do here is we can do this 2 different ways. So I like to, whenever I'm asked to find missing angles or missing parts of a picture, I treat it like a puzzle. So what I could do here is to find the measure of ECD. ECD is right here, this angle. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to treat this little one up here as a whole triangle. And I know by my triangle sum theorem that the 3 angles of a triangle are going to add up to be 180. So I'm going to add 53 plus 45. I get 98. I'm going to subtract that from 180. And I get 82. And that's the measure of this angle right here, which is now vertical to the one they asked me to find. So the measure of ECD is 82 degrees. Any other questions from last night's homework?
Number 5, I got Y.
Again, number 9, skip. And then number 10 was 78. So 11, 12, and 13 are here.